In 1943, Maslow's Pyramid of Needs was first printed. It described a hierarchy within psychology whereby until you address the foundational elements such as food and water, you couldn't really feel safe. You couldn't find love. You'd struggle with self-respect, etc. I'd like to offer a similar hierarchy of needs related to data protection. The most basic need of any data protection scenario is the assured reliability in one's ability to recover data. If you aren't confident in your ability to reliably recover your data, then your data protection solution has no value. The answer to this need is better backups, but not just backups, but combining backups with snapshots and replication, and doing that for your workloads that are physical servers on-premises, virtual machines on-prem and cloud-hosted, as well as native cloud software. Whether your workloads are today or wherever they will be 6 months from now, the requirement to protect them remains. As a tangent to that, it's important to realize that in the age of ransomware and DevOps-led deployments, just having durable clouds is not enough either. You have to have previous versions that go far enough back to mitigate cyber intrusions. Some portion of your data will also likely have truly long-term retention mandates associated with it, and those requirements are not satisfied just because your SaaS or IaaS form is resilient. So you still, even in 2020 and beyond, have to start with the most basic of needs. Ask yourself, can I reliably restore my stuff? And just like Maslow's needs, until you address this foundation, you can't really move up the stack. Okay, so you can reliably restore your stuff. Now what? Get your data out of the building. For the last 30 years, that's meant tape for many of us. Today, it can be as simple as a credit card and a cloud storage or service provider, but somehow get your data out of the building. I do want to point out that the cloud does not entirely replace or kill tape. In most organizations, 85+% of your data does not have long-term requirements. Yeah, you should keep versions of almost everything for perhaps a year or so, mostly to mitigate cyber attacks and folks that overwrite last year's stuff with this year's stuff. So maybe hold it for 15 months. There's a good amount of data that really could have unlockable value. So for data mining and analytics, I could foresee 2 to 5 years of retention, and using the cloud for that makes a lot of sense. For 10-year plus retention, for what might only be 5 or 10% of your actual production data that actually has mandates related to long-term retention or regulatory compliance. That might be patient lifespans, patent or research histories, executive and legal directors, etc. For all of that, tape. Long-lasting, portable, durable, modern tape. Now, if you or your boss's boss truly doesn't like tape, then maybe consider a cloud service provider that will do a monthly tape for you. Or if everything else fails, just send everything to the cloud, or more than one cloud. At the end of the day, get your data out of the building so that your data survives, so that you have a better chance of ensuring that the business survives as well. And that brings us to BCDR. There are 3 aspects of BCDR that I hope you consider. 4, if you consider that DR and BC are not the same. Disaster recovery, DR, is taking the survivable data and the reliable restorability and executing it somewhere else. Whereas business continuity, BC, focuses first and foremost on the business processes. Real BCDR is grounded in understanding the business processes and correlating their dependencies back onto IT systems. And I said there are 3 things to really consider. The first is understanding and quantifying business processes, IT dependencies, business impacts, etc. And that's critical. Those skills also typically do not reside within your local backup administrator. There's a much different skill set to BCDR planning. In fact, in most organizations, the backup admin is not, or should not, lead your BCDR initiative. Unfortunately, too few organizations have real BCDR experts on staff. So to meet this need, Seek outside expertise that can objectively help you understand your processes and then plan to mitigate IT interruptions accordingly. Secondly, if a server goes down in Dallas, reliable restorability means that we can get it back running where it was. Survivability means that the Dallas site may not be available, but with some effort, the data remains. For BCDR preparedness, recognize that if the server was running in Dallas, but now it's spun up in Boston or in some cloud, the users won't just reconnect. Networking, especially with cloud-hosted DR, but really any multi-site topology, requires connectivity and a lot of preparation. This is not something that you want to try to figure out after you spun the servers up, but instead will require pre-planning and testing in order to ensure access, and not just servers with virtual green lights, but no usability. And then lastly, BCDR is not just about earthquakes and fires. Most interruptions of IT service can actually be foreseen in between change control windows and migrations. The fact that you want to move your server from physical to virtual, from Dallas to Boston, from Hyper-V to VMware, from on-prem to cloud, maybe even from one cloud to another, all of these are server moves, which, left to old school methods, would result in outages, even if they're planned outages. Instead, think of migrations, including P to V, V to C, C to V, C to C, as all being disasters. So your agility to mitigate downtime by using that same rapid and reliable recovery mechanism that would let you recover from a flooded server room can also enable you to move from your data center to the cloud, in between clouds, or maybe even back on premise again. Otherwise, you're just creating your own outages. Don't do that. When we get past the tactical restorability and the assurance of survivability, you start to see a lot of process-centric capabilities that are encompassed within BCDR. Bringing servers online in a different than original environment requires some complex steps. Reconnecting users to a rehosted servers and services requires specific steps. Testing all of that requires repetitive execution of those tasks. Reporting requires more diligence while testing, while executing each of those sets of steps and tasks, etc. Here's the problem. Humans are not good at repetitive tasks, especially complex repetitive tasks. So as the slide reads, get the humans out of the way. Humans are great at defining strategy, establishing goals, creating process steps, etc. After that, you should be looking for orchestration where you can develop workflows for each of those recovery tasks, then orchestrate running those recovery workflows on a regular basis, and then deriving reports that identify what's working and what needs improvement. And that's where the humans get involved again, is resolving what needs improvement. This can be especially important when you recognize that in some BCDR scenarios, the IT experts who developed the plan may not be available to execute the plan. For example, if my data center was underwater, there's a good likelihood that so is my living room at home. And as much as I want to help my colleagues in the server room, my wife and kids are counting on me to take care of my house. Orchestrated workflows created by me and then audited by me when I review the reports of the tests each month ensures I really can be part of the solution in two places at once. In Maslow's hierarchy, the top of the pyramid is self-actualization, becoming the best possible you. In this pyramid, the pinnacle of data protection is data management. So here we are with reliable recovery of IT systems and survivable data and business continuance against outages both unplanned and planned, and the whole thing is orchestrated. This is a great set of capabilities, and frankly, it's better than what most organizations have today. But this level of investment in effort and planning and hardware and software has a cost. The ROI of most legacy approaches to data protection were to simply quantify downtime and data loss and then compare that with the cost of the data protection hardware, software, services, and labor. Chances are that if you do that, you still get a good ROI with modern data protection solutions, not so much with a legacy solution stack. But any way you look at it, it's a big investment. The good news is that bad things will happen. You will need to recover your data. You will get ROI. But what if you could do more? You already have a data protection solution that can reliably recover your data. You can recover that data to a different location than where it typically resides. You could automate reconnectivity to that data and orchestrate against the new instance. So what if you did that orchestrated restore into a sandbox, into a test area, something that wasn't visible to the production network? And then automate bringing in the data in and enabling connectivity to that secondary instance so that now others have access to a benign copy of the data while the production data continues unscathed. If you could do that, you could test patches and new application versions without affecting production. If the new build or new patch would have broken the test environment, then you'll be glad you didn't try to roll it out in real. You could enable DevOps to test their applications with live data, and every morning when they come into work, yesterday's live data is ready for them to play with. You could provide access to AI or ML or other data mining tools. You could provide access to regulatory compliance auditors. Any scenario where you are enabling others to do their jobs better because now they have access to production data without affecting the production environment. Every one of those scenarios creates business value because it creates a positive benefit to the business. And now your ROI for data protection is not just the mitigation of downtime and data loss, but also the acceleration to the business with these new capabilities. So that's why we say the pinnacle of data protection is data management. Now that was a theoretical model. If you actually deploy the technologies, it might look more like this. Certainly, reliable restorability is the absolute foundation. On top of that goes data survivability and BCDR. But when you seek out orchestrated workflows, you might find some rudimentary workflows that directly address even down to the backup and restore of your core platform. And similarly, when you seek out data reuse, you might find some scenarios that even enable aspects of reuse, especially with enterprise storage arrays that enable clones from their snapshots. So the implementation may not look quite as pretty or clean as a multi-stack birthday cake or a pyramid. In general, most IT strategies will sound more like this. First, ensure that you can recover IT tactically. Then, get your data out of the building and prepare for BCDR. And then, get smarter through both orchestration and leveraging the data and enabling your teams. I hope this gives you something to think about. I hope you found it useful. I'm Jason Buffington. Thanks for watching.